Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. I think I know most of the people that are attending tonight, but for the record, today is December 5th, 2020. My name is Ghassane Habib, and I'm the current board chair of the Islamic Cultural Center of Fresno. I will be your MC tonight. As you know, Muslims traditionally start communal events by reading a few verses of the Qur'an, our holy book. At this time, before we get deep into the program, I would like to ask Dr. Sadeed to recite from our holy book, followed by a translation in the text in English. Dr. Sadeed, please.
Assalamu alaikum, all brothers and sisters. This is a few verses from Surah Al-An'am, the cattle. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وإذ قال إبراهيم لأبيه آزر أتتخذ أصناما آلهة إني أراك وقومك في ضلال مبين وكذلك نري إبراهيم ملكوت السماوات والأرض وليكون من الموقنين فلما جن عليه الليل رأى كوكبا قال هذا ربي فلما أفل قال لا أحب الآفلين فلما رأى القمر بازغا قال هذا ربي فلما أفل قال لئن لم يهدني ربي لأكونن من القوم الضالين فلما رأى الشمس بازغة قال هذا ربي هذا أكبر فلما أفلت قال يا قوم إني بريء مما تشركون إني وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض حنيفا وما أنا من المشركين وحاجه قومه قال تحاجوني في الله وقد هداني ولا أخاف ما تشركون به إلا أن يشاء ربي شيئا وسع ربي كل شيء علما أفلا تتذكرون وكيف أخاف ما أشركتم ولا تخافون أنكم أشركتم بالله ما لم ينزل به عليكم سلطانا فأي الفريقين أحق بالأمن إن كنتم تعلمون الذين آمنوا ولم يلبسوا إيمانهم بظلم أولئك لهم الأمن وهم مهتدون وتلك حجتنا آتيناها إبراهيم على قومه نرفع درجات من نشاء إن ربك حكيم عليم ووهبنا له إسحاق ويعقوب كلا هدينا ونوحا هدينا من قبل ومن ذريته داود وسليمان وأيوب ويوسف وموسى وهارون وكذلك نجزي المحسنين وزكريا ويحيى وعيسى وإلياس كل من الصالحين وإسماعيل واليسع ويونس ولوطا وكلا فضلنا على العالمين ومن آبائهم وذرياتهم وإخوانهم واجتبيناهم وهديناهم إلى صراط مستقيم ذلك هدى الله يهدي به من يشاء من عباده ولو أشركوا لحبط عنهم ما كانوا يعملون أولئك الذين آتيناهم الكتاب والحكم والنبوة فإن يكفر بها هؤلاء فقد وكلنا بها قوما ليسوا بها بكافرين أولئك الذين هدى الله فبهداه مقتده قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إن هو إلا ذكرى للعالمين صدق الله. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I will read it now in English, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, by the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Remember when Abraham said to his father Azar, do you take idols for gods? I see you and your people in manifest error. Thus, we showed Abraham the kingdom of the heavens and the earth, so that he be firm in belief. So when the night enveloped him, he saw a star. He said, this is my Lord. But when it vanished, he said, I do not like those who vanish. Later, when he saw the moon rising, he said, this is my Lord. But when it vanished, he said, had my Lord not guided me, I would have been among those gone astray. Thereafter, when he saw the sun rising, he said, this is my Lord, this is greater. Again, when it vanished, he said, O my people, I disown whatever you associate with Allah. I have indeed turned my face straight towards the one who created the heavens and the earth, and I'm not one of those who associate partners with Allah. His people argued with him. He said, do you argue with me about Allah while he has already led me to the right path? I do not fear that which you associate with him, because it cannot harm me, unless, of course, something is willed by my Lord. My Lord encompasses everything with his knowledge. Would you then take no lesson? How can I fear that which you associate with him while you do not fear the evil fate of your having associated with Allah? Something for which he did not send down to you any authority. Now, which of the two parties has more right to be in peace? Tell me if you know. Those who have believed and have not mixed their faith with injustice are the ones who deserve peace, and it is they who are on the right path. That is the decisive argument from us that we gave to Abraham against his people. We raise in ranks whomsoever we will surely. Your Lord is wise, knowing. We bestowed upon him Isaac and Jacob. Each of them we guided to the right path. Earlier we guided Noah, and his progeny we guided. David and Solomon and Job and Joseph and Moses and Aaron. Thus we rewarded those who are good in deeds. And we guided Zechariah and Yahya, Jonah, Jesus, and Elias or Elijah. Each of them was the righteous. And Ismail and Eliasa or Elisha, and Jonah and Lut. And all of them we made to excel over the people of the world in their respective times. We guided many among their fathers and their children and their brothers, and we chose them and led them on to the straight path. That is Allah's guidance. He guides with whomsoever he will from among his servants. Had they associated partners with him, all they did would have been nullified from them. They are those whom we have given the book and wisdom and prophethood. So if these people disbelieve this concept of prophethood, then be not grieved, because we have deputed for believing in it a people who do not reject him. Those are the people whom Allah has guided, so it is their guidance that you should follow. Say, I ask you no reward for it. It is nothing but an advice from all the worlds. Sadaqallah. Thank you very much.
Ghassane, you're muted.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry about that. So Dr. Sadeed, again, Jazakumullah khair, thank you so very much. Those two verses were very appropriate. It is my immense pleasure to welcome all participants to this very first Zoom-based Spirit of Abraham Award. As you may know, the Islamic Cultural Center of Fresno strives to promote and increase the understanding of Islam and Muslims in our community, in our state and beyond. We do this through educational talks with actions and by working with, among others, faith-based organizations. Our board, our staff, and many active volunteers from our congregation regularly interact with people and like-minded entities to build bridges of understanding and to promote respect and appreciation for each other. We recognize that we cannot operate in a vacuum. that we do not operate in a vacuum, and that we acknowledge and cherish those who, like us, strive towards the same goals of compassion and understanding. To that end, we also like to recognize the voices of courage that help our center realize such goals. Please allow me to give a little refresher about tonight's event. Each year, starting in 2005, the Islamic Cultural Center of Fresno has presented the Spirit of Abraham Award to entities and or individuals who significantly contribute toward enhancing the understanding of Islam and Muslims, as well as creating more harmonious relationships between faiths in our community and beyond. Since its inception, ICCF has recognized 27 such deserving awardees from a very professional fields. Past honorees include faith organizations, law enforcement agencies, entertainment organizations, education, print and broadcast media, Association for the Protection of the Abused, and even end-of-life care specialists. Actually, some of the awardees of the Spirit of Abraham Award have graced us with their presence tonight. We thank you for being here. The award gala, which started 15 years ago, has traditionally been part of the Night of Spirituality on the first Friday of the month of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan is a month during which Muslims fast from dawn to dusk. This is a month of accentuated reflection and devotion, as well as fasting. On the first Friday, we traditionally gather and break bread together with our awardee and their guests at our iftar dinner, ending our day's fast. We know how COVID-19 has wreaked havoc in all aspects of daily lives. The Spirit of Abraham Award would have been held on April 24th, I believe, this year, a few months ago. But of course, gathering restrictions already in place hampered our ability to celebrate then. So I want to extend a special thank you to tonight's honorees for their patience, and I commend our board for having decided to move forward with this format. Although we will not break fast together, we look forward to the day that we can invite you to join us for an iftar at ICCF, and so this is a rain check. It is now my pleasure to ask our Executive Director, Hajj Reza Nekumanesh, to introduce our first honoree, Dr. Darren Duerksen. Hajj Reza, please.
Thank you, Ghassane. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, may Allah send peace and blessings and salutations upon Prophet Muhammad and upon his purified progeny. First of all, thank you, Ghassane. We're so blessed to have a board president so invested in the forward progress of our center, and I'm truly grateful for your leadership and your guidance. I'd like to thank and acknowledge the board of directors, the board of trustees, the staff, our Imam Sayyid Ali, for moving our center forward and keeping us relevant and progressive during this time when it would have been so easy to be forgotten. I also want to thank our congregants who are sticking with us and remembering their center, and a special thanks to my wife, Sakina, who is running our technology tonight. To all of you who are joining us live, and to all of those who are watching a recording later on, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon all of you. We truly miss you all, and especially during programs like this. You know, the Night of Spirituality and the Spirit of Abraham Awards is truly one of our favorite celebrations here at the Islamic Cultural Center of Fresno. We missed it in person this Ramadan, but we couldn't let the year pass without honoring those deserving of our recognition. We pray that the pandemic will end, that people will find healing and peace, and together we will come soon to celebrate and to be amongst like-minded and loving and compassionate individuals. This event, the Spirit of Abraham Awards, truly is a testament to so much beauty and love and compassion and bridge building and justice seeking and peacemaking there is going on in our valley all the time. This event allows us to honor those standing up and getting their hands dirty, sometimes placing themselves in uncomfortable positions to bring people together when there's so much that tears us apart. Many years, we have presented this award to people and organizations who jumped out and did something amazing in that year for the community. This year, as we have in the past as well, we are honoring both an organization and an individual who didn't just pop up in 2019 or 2020 and blaze a fire and come out as a leader in the interfaith world. But both of our recipients tonight have been steady, present, active proponents of interfaith solidarity and bridge building for so many years. Both awardees tonight have invested their entire work to promoting understanding and peace building. Since I will not be able to come up here when it is time for them to accept their awards, I do want to appreciate the Interfaith Alliance of Central California, who will be receiving their award for the organization. They truly are a great group of people who work together to highlight all the religious traditions in our community. We are thankful for your work, and we're thankful for each and every one of you that are leading our community. But it is my honor to present the 2020 Spirit of Abraham Award in the category of individual to an amazing educator, a bold leader, and my friend, Dr. Darren Duerksen. Dr. Duerksen is the Associate Professor of Intercultural and Religious Studies at Fresno Pacific University. He's taught there for 10 years in the areas of religious studies, theology, biblical studies, and cultural studies. Prior to this, he was involved in various international Christian service organizations, including working for 7 years as a liaison between the Mennonite Brethren Church of India and in the US. Darren has a Master's of Divinity from Fresno Pacific Biblical Seminary. He has a PhD in Intercultural Studies from Fuller Theological Seminary, and he's actually ordained with the Mennonite Brethren Church. He's been a part of numerous interfaith organizations and initiatives in and around Fresno, including being an active member of Faith in the Valley's Clergy Caucus, to working really hard to represent all communities with the Interfaith Scholar Weekend, and serving on the board of another award-winning 2019 Abraham Award-winning Fresno Interdenominational Refugee Ministries firm. He and his wife, Shana, are the parents of 2 children, and they love hiking, and they love traveling, and they love music. For many years now, Dr. Duerksen has partnered with the Islamic Cultural Center of Fresno in many ways. Every semester, and sometimes multiple times in that semester, he hosts Muslim leaders and speakers in his classroom to share on topics of faith, of interfaith work, of justice work, of bridge building. He also hosts an interfaith panel each semester where he brings Jewish, Christian, and Muslim leaders to talk about working together and how important it is to remain who you are. Don't ever lose who you are or what you're about, but to put aside any differences that would get in the way of building peace and true neighborly love. He has worked to create panel discussions and programs at Fresno Pacific University that bring different voices in the community together to learn and even offer space for Muslims like us here and others to share who they are in order to break down stereotypes among his own students and his own community. Truly uncomfortable, but rewarding and beneficial work. He brings his students to the Islamic Cultural Center of Fresno on many occasions. Each semester, he sends groups to observe our Jum'ah prayers on Friday afternoons. If you've been here at a Jum'ah service and there's been a whole bunch of students in the back, those are probably Dr. Duerksen's students with us. At times, his students come to interview Muslim leaders, and he also comes with his students on evening occasions where we gather his students and Muslim community members in sessions that he calls Getting to Know Your Neighbor, where the goal is to break down barriers and highlight the similarities among all people. They truly are prophetic and beautiful nights, and it's something that I'm so honored to have been a part of so many times. His connection to the Muslim community doesn't stop with ICCF. He also brings students to my deen annually to share iftar with the youth during Ramadan. Just last month, he organized an event partnering with the Muslim Student Association, where he gathered religious leaders from around the country for an online program about the election and what it means to faith communities. And as you can guess, he didn't leave the Muslim voice out of this conversation. He included all of us. And to put a cherry on top, here's a little announcement. As he pondered applying for a grant to be able to teach a module at Fresno Pacific University around interfaith cooperation and racial equity, he reached out to me to be his partner. a community that he could have reached out to anybody. He thought it was beneficial to reach out to a Muslim. So next semester, students at Fresno Pacific University are going to have the opportunity to learn from Dr. Duerksen and myself about how they can step up to building peace and bridges and love and understanding and equity and justice. His work highlights all religious traditions, and that is the essence of the Spirit of Abraham Award. Though I believe this award is long overdue for both Dr. Duerksen and the Interfaith Alliance of Central California, I believe that this is just the beginning of your prophetic journey. I believe that you're going to continue building up our community and highlighting the beauty of the fabric of the religious traditions that make up the tapestry that is our valley, that is our Fresno. I'm grateful to call Darren my friend, and I'm so proud of the work that he does every day. So I am honored to present the Spirit of Abraham Award 2020 for an individual to Dr. Darren Duerksen. And I invite you up for his intentional and continuous efforts to defeat hatred and racism through education, engagement, and bridge building in our community. I'm so honored to be your friend, and I'm so honored to be a part of all the beautiful work that you do. We appreciate you, Dr. Duerksen. Thank you.
Can you face the camera here? All right. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Reza, and I'm overwhelmed. I am honored, and this is an incredible opportunity to reflect. I've had an opportunity to reflect on my own journey a bit, but first, let me just say a big thank you, of course, first to the board, the Islamic Cultural Center of Fresno, to Imam Sayyid Ali Ghazvini, to the Executive Director, Reza Nekumanesh. It is just a privilege to be able to receive this award. I feel very humbled that I'm being given this tonight, and I'm just so grateful for it. I'm also just incredibly grateful to ICCF, not only for the work that you all do for helping our community, our Fresno and wider community understand about Islam and the Muslim faith, but also what it looks like you also model what it looks like to build relationships across faith groups and stand together in our joint efforts to build healthy and just communities. And for me, it is an honor and a privilege to call Reza my friend and to be partnering and joining together with the IACC community and of course other faith communities in multiple ways. I've been reflecting a lot on my own journey in interfaith work. And as I teach students about this, I observe them growing, and it's made me think, particularly the last couple of months, about my own journey and growing up. And when I think about it, I think about the analogy of a garden and a gardener. Now, you should know that I am only an aspiring gardener. I am certainly not an accomplished one, but I did grow up on a tree fruit farm in the midst of tree fruit farmers, and so I at least understand the basics of the craft. At least I hope so. For me, the seeds of interfaith values were planted by my own Christian and specifically Anabaptist, and even more specifically, Mennonite Brethren church background. Now, I realize I just dropped some very specific names there, and I won't go into detail about what each of those mean, but suffice to say that my family and my Mennonite Brethren church in Reedley taught me many things. And one was that faith should reach into every part of our lives, both individually and corporately. With its evangelical leanings, it emphasized the importance of scripture, it emphasized the words of Christ. With its Anabaptist leanings, we were encouraged to live out lives of peace-building relationships with each other and with our community, and to serve each other in selfless ways. I often remember how my grandmother, Duerksen, was a constant living example of one who would readily lay down her agenda so as to be able to help others. In fact, in one way, that was her agenda, was to just selflessly help other people. And she was an incredible model, together with my family and others in my community. Now, some further seeds were laid several years later, when, as a young adult, I attended the Fresno Pacific University Seminary, and then a few years after that with my doctoral studies. And in those places, I dived deeper via study into my own faith and the faiths of others. And I discovered that pursuing both of those didn't have to be mutually exclusive. In fact, learning about other faiths, in so doing, I was propelled to learn more, re-examine more about my own faith in exciting ways. And to me, this was an exciting opportunity to grow in learning about others and learning about myself and my faith. Now, each of these experiences, my background, studies, these were planting some important seeds, to continue with the gardener metaphor. But from an interfaith standpoint, they really needed some water and some nutrients. And that nourishment came in the form of relationships. Interfaith work cannot happen without relationships. And this has been key. First, as I was involved with work in India through a Christian NGO, and then when I moved to Fresno to be part of Fresno Pacific University, and getting involved in the Fresno community, and as Reza has talked about, the honor of being a part of the clergy caucus, Faith in the Valley, to be connecting with Norman Broadbent and the Interfaith Alliance and our mutual work with Interfaith Scholars Weekend and numerous other groups, including Firm. I had the opportunity to learn to get to know some incredible people, and including Reza, including Rabbi Rick at Temple Beth Israel, numerous of my Sikh friends now. And these relationships nourished those values that I grew up with. And out of that, I think has blossomed, has grown for me just a richness, an incredible richness. I've been able to grow in my own understanding, and where I've been able to grow in hopefully in my actions. And just to continue the analogy one more time, my hope is that also there's fruit that's coming from this growth. And as I have shared my excitement of interfaith work with my students, it's been exciting to see some of them grasp onto this and to begin their own journeys in learning to get to know not only the knowledge of other religions, but get to know people from other religious communities and to share faith experiences and to realize that we disagree on some fundamental things. In fact, I think in my interactions with different faith communities, we've certainly had some difficult discussions at times around issues of faith or around issues of social action. But we can acknowledge that we have profound differences and not let it become a barrier. In fact, I would say that those have almost been like fertilizer to the plant that have caused me to grow and be even stronger and to create these relationships that are resilient and help to see the commonalities and the ways that we can join together. Again, as I think about the future, as I think about the students that I'm teaching and my continued journey, I'm given hope. And we certainly need hope these days. I'm getting a little tired of hearing how 2020 has been this really difficult year. We all know that. I'm ready to start thinking about what will 2021 and beyond look like. And I'm starting to wonder, and not to wonder, I'm starting to think about and have hope. There is opportunity, there's change. I see the students that I'm teaching get excited about interfaith possibilities. I see the relationships I'm building with others, and there are difficult issues that we are grappling with. We have both locally and nationally, racial injustice, homelessness, food insecurities, phobias of all sorts. Certainly the challenges are there. They have been and they continue to be, but there's also hope. A passage out of our Christian scripture says that there are three things that remain pure and steady: faith, hope, and love. These can and need to grow. And I'm convinced that they are nourished and they grow profoundly when we join with other faith communities in some of these crucial and difficult issues. I'm encouraged that ever more I'm encouraged more than ever more that faith communities that share this desire for faith, hope, and love can join together to provide these for our wider community. For me, it's a privilege to be a small part of that and to continue to grow in that. Thank you again to ICCF. Thank you for this award. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Duerksen, for the ongoing opportunities you create to learn about how to love and to serve those from different backgrounds and faith than one's own. We commend you and appreciate you and the fact that you're continuing the tradition of Fuzzo Pacific. I have to say, in the early 2000s, I had the opportunity to speak many times after September 11th. Dr. Katrina Petker had invited me, and so I'm very happy that we have a chance to honor you tonight. A long time ago, when I first started my community involvement, I joined the Interfaith Alliance of Central California. In fact, I served as its co-chair for a couple of years. I was introduced to it by a good friend of mine, Kamal Abu Shamsiya, and I met wonderful people. Some of them are here tonight. And I gained a lot of my participation with the groups, so I am ecstatic that IACC is our other honoree. The work they have done and continue to do facilitates interfaith and understanding in our community and benefits all of us tremendously. Could not think of a better person to introduce the IACC than our spiritual leader, Sayyid Ghazvini, who has himself been involved with the organization for many years, and some of our board members are, of course, as you know. Sayyid Ali, you have the floor.
All right, thank you, Brother Ghassane. Dear brothers, sisters, friends, wherever you are, at home, or wherever you are, may the peace and the blessings be always with you. May God keep you safe and healthy. Let me in the beginning take a moment and pray for those who are ill and sick for any reason, especially those who are fighting with COVID, that God gives them total healing. And also let us take a moment to pray for our healthcare heroes and other heroes who are in the front line of fighting COVID-19. And another prayer that we all get this vaccine very soon and celebrate a normal life again. One more time, peace and blessings be with you, dear friends and brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Faith and traditions shape the culture and the behavior of communities. They may contribute to building peace or may devolve into developing violence. Therefore, it is so important and essential that faith leaders maintain a proper level of communication and dialogue. Once dialogue is established, faith leaders tend to find areas of common ground, especially around combating bigotry, violence, racism, hunger, and poverty. For these reasons and beyond, the Islamic Cultural Center of Fresno fundamentally believes in the interfaith and intrafaith dialogue and cooperation. And for this purpose, it has established the Spirit of Abraham Award in an effort to promote dialogue, establish understanding, and teamwork between faith traditions. Some people under the impression that interfaith or intrafaith dialogue means endorsing other traditions or agreeing with their principles and practices. While dialogue is an act of democracy and civilization, it is not intended to be a debate platform or a proselytization channel. It is meant to be a way of exploring common grounds and mutual respect, and to combat isolation and misunderstanding. It's a platform for peace building. The Islamic Cultural Center of Fresno is proud to offer the 2020 Spirit of Abraham Award in the category of organizations to one which is a pioneer in building bridges of understanding between communities, the Interfaith Alliance of Central California. I had the honor and the pleasure of co-chairing this inspirational group alongside with Reverend Natalie Chamberlain for about 5 years. The Interfaith Alliance was founded nationally in 1994 in response to a growing entanglement between religion and politics. Representatives of various religious traditions were invited to be part of an alternative voice and vision. Membership is by individuals joining and paying dues rather than organizations being specifically represented. The local Central California chapter was organized in 1997. The Interfaith Alliance of Central California came together to deal with issues of students being proselytized in our public school. The Religion in Schools initiative came about because students from every faith deserve to have their faith honored. The impact of this groundbreaking work has, over the years, resulted in IACC leading support in revising local school district policies, such as physical education, dress codes, impacting Muslim young women in regards with swimming instructions. IACC sent a board-approved letter to a Central Valley school district in support of a young Mormon woman denied a leadership role when elected by her peers for a school-sponsored chapter of Fellowship of Christian Athletes. She was denied because sponsors were of the mind that a Mormon was not a Christian. A decision was ultimately made that resulted in that chapter being moved off school premises and made a chapter completely independent of the school. When the Madeira Islamic Center came under threat a decade ago, IACC members, including its current co-chair, Reverend Norman Broadbent, were present for an evening of solidarity and support to the community. When the Islamic Cultural Center, this center, was vandalized several Christmases ago, several IACC members were also present to lend support and solidarity and a protection with this community. When the local Sikh community was devastated by attacks on members of its community, the IACC took part in a moving community candlelight gathering on the campus of a Fresno City College. IACC has been similarly represented and has spoken at events honoring those killed in various individual and/or mass shootings. Its purpose in being represented is to convey the importance of IACC's mission, which is to facilitate interfaith dialogue to enhance mutual understanding and respect for religious differences. The list of IACC activities covers a wide range of accomplishments in the areas of combating racism, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and violence, and also raising awareness about intercultural and interreligious relations, creating bridges of understanding through education and interpersonal relations through partnership with various religious and educational institutes. Another significant contribution to the educational enterprise over recent years has been the effort of IACC to collaborate with the Fresno State Office of Foreign Students Affairs. Thanks to the hospitality of the Mormon Student Center across from the campus, IACC has for a number of years hosted a meet and greet dinner and games. Meet and greet dinner and games night for new international students in both the January and August terms. Opportunities are provided for international students to engage with local Fresno folks so that we offer a message of welcoming and inclusion. Last spring, when the pandemic was upon us and dormitories needed to be vacated, some international students were caught needing additional financial support to find temporary housing, food, and personal hygiene needs. IACC was able to provide some modest financial support to a number of these students. Over the years, IACC has understood its role in demonstrating the importance of respecting and celebrating religious distinctiveness in a public setting. To that end, each year when the National Day of a Prayer has been observed, IACC has held an alternative interfaith prayer vigil in a variety of public settings. The open entryway to City Hall, taking part in an art hub setting of a center city art gallery. And perhaps the most visible public presence of IACC has been its designing of an annual community interfaith Thanksgiving celebration, usually a standing room only event. This year, due to the current COVID pandemic, a special Zoomcast was organized, embracing the theme, giving thanks in a difficult time. For many years now, this organization, the local chapter of IACC, has been enjoying the leadership of a great leaders. The co-chair, Reverend Norman Broadbent, and also the other co-chair, Brother Arfan Ali. It is my pleasure now to present this award to the co-chair, Reverend Norman Broadbent, on behalf of the Interfaith Alliance of Central California. Please come here. Thank you, Reverend. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My goodness. Wonderful. This is heavy.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I didn't touch here except this one.
That's fine. That's fine. Let's see, I think I need your little
Oh, sorry.
gizmo.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I appreciate that. Wow, what an evening. Darren, congratulations. I'm honored to be able to share not only this evening with you, but in the many other points of contact that you have mentioned. It's truly an honor to receive this recognition on behalf of an organization such as the Interfaith Alliance of Central California. Special thanks to the board. Special thanks to my good friends, Imam Ghazvini and Reza, Nekumanesh. and so many others from this community, where we have crossed paths and share work together in a variety of settings. And so it's really with great humility that I come to receive this particular award on behalf of the many who have come before me in service to the Interfaith Alliance of Central California. Mindful as well that our current board has continued to be blessed with the support and participation of two original founding members, Dr. Sudarshan Kapoor and Babs Eskin. Now, my own personal involvement I owe to Kamal Abu Shamsheya, to Reverend Brian Jessup, and to Reverend Natalie Chamberlain, each of whom were instrumental for inviting and welcoming me into this unique relationship of interfaith relations here in Fresno. But equally important has been the role of this Islamic Cultural Center of Fresno in affording me and others a unique and blessed personal relationship shared throughout the wider Fresno community. I'm thinking of long car rides that Reza and I spent a couple of years ago to Visalia, and the wonderful conversations that we were able to share there. But I am here tonight to convey to all of you greetings and the shared appreciation for acknowledging the role of the Interfaith Alliance of Central California and the role it has played over the last 23 years. I know I can risk speaking on behalf of our current board, whose tireless commitment has been to bring the best of what our vision has to offer into practice. My friend Irfan Ali has shared with me a co-chairing of our group for I think the past half dozen years. And Nagin Tavadari as treasurer, along with Joe Polito, our secretary, have each shared official officer responsibilities in ways creative, humanitarian, and inspired. But I would also need to mention Paul Pierce, Jim Grant, Sally Vogel, Paula Kanagawa, Dr. Sue and Vina Kapoor, Babs Eskin, Akiko Miyaki Stoner, Reverend Tim Kutzmark, Reverend Anna Lopez, Karen Hale, Ashley Kopinski DeWolf, and Dr. Lori Bennett, our current most active board members. They all stand on the proverbial shoulders of those who have come and laid the groundwork for us. And I know that their shoulders are sufficiently equal to the task to allow a next generation to carry forth our interfaith efforts. The impact of the Interfaith Alliance has left indelible marks on us in a variety of ways, both personally and throughout the wider community. Natalie Chamberlain, who has been previously mentioned and served as a co-chair along with Imam Ghazvini, you have honored here with an individual award for her work in undertaking this series of relationships of an interfaith nature. She recently reminded me of two specific occasions that have remained meaningful to her. She and other Interfaith Alliance board participants, following the events of 9/11, allowed the relationships between people of different faiths to express itself in the act of non-Muslim women accompanying Muslim women as they did their shopping. She called it the act of presence. She also asked me to share a moment she will never, ever forget. It was an interfaith prayer service. It was held a number of years ago at Temple Beth Israel. And one of the Christian participants wound up not coming. He was supposed to read a text in Spanish. Now, one of your members here, Ghassane, asked if there was a rule against non-Christians reading Christian scriptures. Natalie wrote, well, we said no. This meant that a Muslim read Christian scripture in Spanish from the pulpit of a Jewish synagogue. It is the ultimate defining of our intent and purpose as an interfaith alliance. To further illustrate, the Interfaith Alliance board members have been long-standing participants in a Saturday morning Torah study hosted by Temple Beth Israel, a further enriching of personal relationships and points of connection to our respective faiths. The Interfaith Alliance, under the leadership of Cheryl Gardner, has briefly revived a multi-faith exchange, originally organized by Fresno Metro Ministry, and has given new expression by scheduling meetings that have been held in various places of worship, where participants are able to learn the tenets of multiple faith traditions, as well as to experience the ever-present hospitality given in each of those locations. I, along with others from Interfaith Alliance, have responded to invitations from various religious and educational communities to facilitate discussions of a more personal venue, interpreting our own faith traditions and values while being able to celebrate the distinctive contributions that we have learned from others. In a kind of reverse gesture of mutual acknowledgement, I personally think of those occasions when Imam Ghazvini and others from this particular Islamic Cultural Center, Fresno, have joined with Christian congregations on Christmas Eve, a simple recognition of respect and mutual trust. Many of us from the Interfaith Alliance Board are personally thankful for the occasions when, during Ramadan, Irfan Ali and Nagin Talbadari have invited to their iftar table rabbis, Catholic workers, Hindus, Buddhists, Protestants, and Native American colleagues. We have shared with them in their evening practice of prayer, which has then been followed by a veritable palate-pleasing meal offered up as samples from their respective homelands. Apart from our candlelight vigil in solidarity with our Sikh neighbors following 2 horrific attacks on members of their community, Interfaith Alliance was privileged several years ago to stand alongside our Sikh community in City Hall as they unveiled a major campaign to inform the wider Central Valley as to the nature of their faith identity and their community service. On a more personal note, in my first years in Fresno, I was more intimately involved with the work of what was then known as Faith and Community, which would later evolve into today's Faith in the Valley. At the same time, I served on the board of Fresno Metro Ministry, taking on the role of president of that same board. In both settings, we spent a lot of fruitful time and effort in broadening the interfaith inclusion in both of those settings, which ultimately brought me to embrace the core values of the Interfaith Alliance and commit to the work begun by those who have come before. In recent years, we have also tried to be a responsible sponsor with the Interfaith Scholar Weekend, recognizing that Interfaith Alliance members, Al Evans, Dr. Kapoor, and Jim Grant, have given years of leadership in this significant endeavor. I'm also delighted that you have recognized this other awardee this evening, Darren, as someone who has given equally significant support over the years to these same efforts. Lastly, I'm excited to share with you news of a new exploratory relationship we are now undertaking. Thanks to the emergence of Zoom, we have held 2 exploratory conversations with Bradford Together, an interfaith multicultural project out of Bradford, England. Our own secretary, Joe Polito, through a friendship with Bradford Together's project coordinator, brought to our attention the potential of sharing ways to address similar issues of racism, anti-religious prejudice, cultural assimilation, COVID panic responses, anti-rumor campaigns, and educational partnerships. In 2 weeks, we are looking forward to a joint Zoom conference to which we are inviting not only our own respective board members, but those who in our community cross over into other interfaith partnerships throughout the Central Valley. And they are doing the same in Bradford. Only exploratory at this point, but consistent with our core values, we are excited about the possibilities of bringing together critical community leaders from our respective cities to share strategies and resources that might be of benefit to each of our respective settings. We further envision the possibility of bringing young people into a similar dialogue platform that might inform and direct our sharing ways in which to develop best practices and outcomes that will benefit young people here and in Bradford. So in summary, the expansion of interfaith collaboration is one of Fresno's greatest assets, as I hope you have come to understand in these two presentations this evening. And that while not all such blossoming entities have been a direct result of the Interfaith Alliance involvement, perhaps our most meaningful role has been to have been a part of the process that is paving a way for valuing and partnering with so many wonderful assets from across the spectrum of religious and community representations. We celebrate and continue to encourage the interfaith work of various congregations and community partners throughout Fresno and Central California. All of this because the Interfaith Alliance of Central California has always been about building relationships while working towards peace with justice. So on behalf of the Interfaith Alliance of Central California, thank you, Islamic Cultural Center of Fresno, for honoring us, as well as providing us a monthly meeting place to which we look forward to returning once it is healthy and safe to do so. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Broadbent. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for your kind words. You reminded me of a probably the highlight, if not the highlight, but one of the top highlights of my involvement in the community with this Interfaith Alliance of Central California event at Temple Beth Israel, where I honestly felt blessed to be able to read the Christian scriptures in a Jewish temple, being Muslim from the Middle East and speaking it in Spanish. It's something that we'll never, ever forget. And that was made possible by the IACC. We're lucky to have you in our community, and we're lucky that one of our own members, our brother Irfan Ali, is co-chairing this IACC with you. We look forward to a continued strong and fruitful relationship with the Interfaith Alliance of Central California for a very long time to come. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our formal program. If these were normal times, non-COVID times, we would absolutely have been together for a while longer, breaking bread to mark the end of our fast and having a communal moment that would last as long as people wanted to stay, and sharing stories around tables and having just good talk and good friendships and weaving our friendships even further. But have no regrets. As I mentioned earlier, we look forward to seeing you in person and to breaking the fast together as soon as Ramadan and no restrictions coincide at the same time. Maybe this year, we can always hope and pray God that this happens. Maybe next, but God willing, we will. And this is a rain check, and we look forward to seeing you again. I bid you a very good night. I'm not sure if there will be